Alright, time to end this.
Little was known about the new Chimera conversion process outside of Dr. Claude Bouchard's research. We knew that until recently, no female Chimera had ever been seen.
Huh, so all the Chimera we had been fighting before are now confirmed to be male, for sure.
Like I said, it feels a bit disappointing, but at the very least we're trying to explain it, instead of just dropping this out of nowhere.
I'm not so much disappointed, but I do
also, Parker, not for nothing, the Coeur de la Mer means, the mother's heart, not the mother's chamber.
See, I'm not so much disappointed as much as I have to raise my eyebrow at my suspension of disbelief that every single Chimera we've been fighting in the Resistance trilogy were all males turned into Chimera.
Well, okay, again, only for the first game. Also this.
Mallery disappeared in Paris. And has to this day.
So yeah, for intents and purposes, because again Grayson did not tell them.
Had nothing to say, and the case
so for intents and purposes, I get the idea that he did not tell them because this way the Maquis and the British can keep the image of Mallery as a war hero rather than just, a traitor.
That is surprisingly very mature of Grayson, given how much he hated Mallery. But I guess
I'll explain more in a second. Let's have the briefing in the meantime.
Give Mallery what he had.
What he had
His
coming.
mom.
Yeah, Mallery and I both saw that coming from the moment we met. Only his version had a different ending. Back before all the power had gone to his head, Mallery was a bona fide war hero whose leadership kept thousands of refugees alive in Chimera-occupied Europe. Having killed him actually makes me sick. Neither Mallery nor I ever envisioned Rain's fate. A crushing death so violent, all that remained was a soup of skin, blood, and marrow.
Now that doesn't make sense. Shouldn't she have turned into a Chimera, not dissolved?
Well, we don't have time to actually, find that out for the time being.
That said,
yeah, this new conversion center is a bit more gooey.
One thing I never figured before, why didn't the Chimera just... Goodness.
My God.
Why didn't the Chimera ever consider, hey, maybe we should spray all of our areas with gas that will turn humans into Chimera? That way, they literally can't proceed.
Remember, their methodology is to launch the spires, which contain the micro-insects, which infect the humans and leave them comatose. Then, the carriers come around, pick them up, and put them in the conversion centers, in which, they will actually be converted properly into the Chimera by letting them, gestate into a cocoon, which will then properly transform them after the cocoon is actually, transported into a process, part of the conversion center. In which also, as the hybrids, they get their cooling systems strapped onto their back. Ew. Thanks, Grayson. I need to know that.
I guess, to be fair, it would be a case of they kind of automatically win if they could literally just spray the whole Earth in gas that turns
basically, obviously.
So, that makes sense. Fair enough. Gotta make it fair and all that. That being said, again, interesting development for Grayson. Originally, Grayson would have relished killing Mallery and pretty much outing him as a dirty coward, but I am interested in them suggesting that Mallery really was... Okay, he wasn't the best guy, but he still meant the best for humanity up until, I'm guessing, the Chimera infected him or something. Like, I know he says, oh, this power is great, but I really chalked that up to the mind control talking, kind of similar to what was going on with Nathan at the end of Resistance 2, essentially. Since it is such a drastic change for Mallery that's honestly the only way I could make sense out of it. Like, he never gave the inkling he was willing to betray humanity for that. Although, that makes me wonder if Rain turned into a Chimera and infected him, and that's why he was turning like that, essentially. Since
we don't know technically about that. We will see by the end of this part, if we actually can see, properly what has happened. For the time being, the priority is to stick the serum, into what is called the Coeur de la Mer.
But yeah, like I said, I'll give Grayson's arc this. It's easily the best arc we've gotten out of a main character from this franchise.
I mean, it's not super Shakespearean, but again, it is something.
And it's a believable transition, too.
Again, compared to Capelli and his stupid, I care so much about my family.
My boy, his glove, he's
This is
sick.
such a godsend.
Yeah.
And again, don't get me wrong, like he said, the script still needed a rewrite because a lot of times the thing that came out of Grayson's mouth really could have been, just rewarding to a more generic type of insults more than anything else. But at its core, the type of story this is actually handling with these characters, yes, this is more like, what kind of a story set in this kind of world would make sense.
Again, a man learning to put his, let's be honest, sort of
His quest for vengeance.
His quest for vengeance and racist tendencies to be more accepting of what happened, more accepting of other people, essentially, and regarding the heroics of others, while also realizing that, yes, this whole thing is bigger than him and his feud with the Chimeras, like, to the point where arguably, this should be the greatest day of his life, since he may be getting to deal the most fatal blow, as far as he knows, to the Chimeran race. But he now really gets why it is not fun for others in that regard. He also gets how painful it can be. I'm still a bit weirded out with the whole him and Rain having sex, and yeah, I pretty much am only left to
again.
believe they
That really is a big deep alligator moment. I have no idea where it comes from, other than potentially to basically just say, yeah, these two are supposed to be in love, by the way. Which again, typical cliche of the 2000s.
And even better, they throw in Mallery going, I always loved Rain, but she wanted you more. Damn you, Grayson, you've cucked me.
I'm nearing the upper levels of the Lair. Carriers moving in and out, like blood vessels carrying oxygen. This is what
It's
Rain
like
discovered.
that Hulk level.
Bloody Chimera
Only I
assembly
guess this
line.
one makes
God.
more
The carriers
sense.
retrieve the bodies from storage, like the chamber beneath Paris, and bring them here, where the transformation process begins. And where it's going to end.
Time to blow everything to heck.
Basically, unfortunately, before proceeding next level, 2 Angel boss fights.
Oh boy.
Wow, shit.
Again, this is also stepping a bit up. Even in Followed Man, you only fought always 1 angel at a time. So again, this is also wrapping up. Even in general, again, even if it doesn't seem as much as you would think of, this game manages to solidly have boss fights, or at least a memorable type of encounter that can be classified as a boss fight.
Yeah.
Again, and I don't understand because Insomniac has a past of having boss fights. Sure, maybe, like I said, it's usually a coin toss, and a lot of times they genuinely are just shit. But at least they are present. They are memorable in some kind of fashion. But in the course of all 3 games, you only get a very small handful of boss fights in total, combined in all 3 games. And again, a single spin-off on the PSP manages to have more than all the 3 games combined. What was their excuse?
My best bet is, once again, Insomniac, by all means, were qualified to take this on, but since they did not have, experience in the shooter genre, and I'm not going to say that they didn't put their all into it, but part of me always does get the feeling that their hearts may not have been 100% into it, as opposed to, working more on those Ratchet and Clank games.
Because the Ratchet and Clank games, I can tell you the future ones, they do have boss fights. They are not maybe super plentiful, but they are present, they're solid and memorable, and they usually do not suck. Sure, a lot of journalists tend to just dismiss them as big sponge enemies that require you to empty your clip into that before they actually die. But I do argue that there is more to that in terms of strategy.
Remind me, Ben Studio. Wait.
Sleep Cyclone Filter. I still need to play those games, but like I said, I am curious to some degree, even if it's not normally the type of game genre that interests me. Maybe I will even record those. Who knows?
Were the Siphon Filter games of a similar genre? Were the Siphon Filter games of a similar genre? The
only thing I know is that they seem to be more similar to Metal Gear, as in stealth game, with a focus on as a spy story with a dash of sci-fi onto that. I guess they're more similar possibly to Splinter Cell, but that's literally as far as I know. The only other thing that I know is that one of the games that caused controversy in Europe because it involves a level in which the IRA, an organization about fighting for the freedom of Northern Ireland, they're depicted as basically the books that you have to kill with assistance from MI6. So yeah, those enemies were actually renamed to generic, if I remember, generic books for the European release. But more of another time.
God,
Screw it.
Grayson, what are you doing? Grayson?
Grayson?
Whee! Time to go up.
I'm glad he somehow knew that thing was going to show up just in time to do that move.
Well, I did notice that when he was actually observing the room when it entered, so...
I'm curious, did Simon Filter ever have any references... Sorry. Did Siphon Filter ever have any references to Metal Gear similar to what Splinter Cell
Again,
did?
Jova, I don't know. Like I said, my knowledge is literally limited to what I told you. The only other thing that I know, but I don't even know how real or it might be in what capacity, is that apparently, and I don't even know 200%. Apparently, Days Gone counts as a distant sequel to the franchise.
I mainly
it might be still set in the same universe. Even that, I do not know.
Sorry, I mainly asked because there was sort of an in-joke going on in Splinter Cell where it's kind of hinted that Sam Fisher may be friends with Snake. In fact,
those particular references tend to be mostly just Easter eggs. Remember, Ubisoft had a bit of a relationship with Konami, where Snake can get an Altair costume in Metal Gear Solid 4. So there is that.
Basically, like one of the things they did was when Sam Fisher mentioned, the guy with the bandana retired. God, it's only me. This was around the time of, Metal Gear Solid 5, I believe. Where, the franchise was...
Which is ironic because not short after, Splinter Cell will also be dead. Thanks, Ubisoft, again.
And now I guess Snake is kinda, sort of, out of retirement? It's complicated.
Well, only for release it for now. We'll have to see what the future holds.
Yeah. I wonder if after 3 they'll remake 1. Since I'll be honest, 1 needs the remake the most if you ask me. I mean, I know it technically has a remake, but, well...
It's one of those, for now, I guess I want them to, at the very least, finish up the Master Collection.
Yeah, that too.
Do you think they'll remake Babel?
Ghost Babel.
I don't think. Okay, how about this? Remember, they included the NES games as a bonus in Volume 1,
including Snake's Revenge, the one that was considered not canon.
Sure. They did that to justify the $60 price tag. And so I can imagine Volume 2 having Ghost Babel as a bonus because, again, Game Boy Color game, it's very easy to emulate.
Do you think they'll also include do you think they'll also include the Acid duology, despite them being different game types?
I wouldn't hold my breath because those are a bit. They take a bit more work that Konami might not be willing to put on.
I definitely get why people are mixed on the Acid games, but I do think those should still be preserved. Basically, Dwibs, the best way to describe Acid is Metal Gear Solid on Acid, especially with how those plots get insane.
Or the first game, then the second.
It's called Acid. Very much ironically, but works on that.
Or the first
the
game.
games already feel like they were made on Acid half the time, so why not?
Or the first game than the second, technically, but yeah, even the second is still very weird.
Alright, we already know. Sorry.
We're almost at the end of the level, if I recall correctly. Check this out. An innocuous button for the next elevator, so let's press it.
I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
Parker, I've located
Uh-oh.
the room. I'm going to inject
Do you have to call it the womb?
But check this out. Apparently someone was a fan of Evangelion because apparently we're immersed in LCL fluid.
Goodness gracious, what's next? A giant mech boss fight at the end?
But yeah, that's actually pretty cool. We're for the climax of the part of the climax of the level, we'll also have an underwater level where you don't have to worry about your air meter, and such you have a complete 360 degree of movement. That's kind of cool. I have to admit.
Grayson's just that good at holding his breath, I guess.
No, like Grayson said in the dialogue. Apparently, this fluid is breathable. Again, typical sci-fi trope. But the only reason, when in a sci-fi story, in order to justify this kind of thing, they usually say that it's a special fluid where the food is so much oxygenated that your lungs still manage to filter it out somehow. Don't ask me how. But again, I'll take it if it seems it provides a good, interesting set piece. So I can like that. And you'll see just in a second what they do with it. Go on, Pedro.
Yeah. No. Like we know that's it. Thank you. Thanks to Data Mining Volume 1, we know that Volume 2's main attractions are going to be 4, Beast Walker, and 5.
For Rising.
Yeah. I'm guessing Rising, they probably are saving that for like its own proper re-release, considering how popular it is. So they probably think it's like worth it to make it its own, release it on its own, rather than being part of a collection.
God forbid we get a Rising duology, with the twist being that it's packaged with the sequel game!
Alright, check this out. After removing all the rays.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
No, unfortunately, we have another boss fight, this time against, one giant versions of the aquatic chimeras.
Oh my.
Again, that's also cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that coming into this game.
No, you're right. Like, this has definitely the best variety of boss fights out of any Resistance game.
I can tell you, this is not even the final boss. However, just mentioning this, there's this grab attack with a QT. If you fail it, it's an insta-kill, so it can be a bit cheap.
Oh god, imagine if Rain turns out to be the final boss.
Well, she's kind of dead, Trova.
Well, again, look, we just sound bloody chunks. Those could have just been stuff that came off of her as she was turning, because, again, it kind of feels weird to have her die off screen.
Anyway, for the time being, again, when it comes to this guy, just, not necessarily even circle strafing, just move around. The eraser is usually the best option for this. I was actually pondering, what would be the best, choice. And occasionally, like I said, it does the grab attack, but as you can see, the QT is relatively generous, actually, when it comes to the window, so it gives you enough time to react.
Thank goodness Grayson's a good enough swimmer to duck in water like that. Or liquid.
Especially fully clothed.
Yeah.
I guess the density might also help, I don't know.
But yeah, I assume Rain has to be alive because this would mean that she died before accomplishing her goal, essentially, unless the plan was always for Grayson to chase
admittedly,
after her.
we have seen people in this franchise dying, relatively anticlimactically to simulate, the horrors of war and how meaningless it is.
Like, that kind of makes it out like, unfortunately, she was too blinded by ambition to realize that Grayson was right. She couldn't do this alone, which I guess would be some tragic irony, but it would just feel weird that they didn't bother to show it, since, if anything, shouldn't she have turned into a chimera unless the formula inside her was so unstable that it caused her to blow up?
Alright, we are done.
Down you go. Well, whoa!
It
Dispersed into
explodes.
bubbles, just like the Little Mermaid.
Alright, it's time to inject the Coeur de la Mer.
Right into the heart, by the looks of it.
Yeah. Again, that's what in French it is.
Ooh,
To deploy the
FMV.
serum and infect the carriers, Grayson would have to enter this heart, the womb where the Chimera hags were conceived in the bodies of human females.
Smile, you son of a...
And just
What
like that,
the heck?
it disperses.
And what the heck is that thing that just popped out of it?
Well, that's what we'll have to see.
Left a bit of a mess there, didn't we?
Yeah, concluded with the sticky goo all over the helmet. Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Bouchard. Rain. What's happened to you?
She had become the Chrysalis herself.
No. What have they done?
You promised to help me, James.
Although she still seems to have some degree of control, but as you can see, yeah, it's not working.
You can resist, but you are mistaken. Join us.
The way my brother joined you? It's too late, Rain. The serum's already spreading. Like a virus.
Do you mind them trying to zap you?
System's collapsing.
Sorry. I'm too resistant to that. I'm a ground type.
Infected, Rain. How long before this is all gone?
Oh.
So,
Okay.
boss time?
First the briefing.
Mission briefing.
Mission
Ah!
brief. Put her out of her
This flying
misery.
demon looks like some kind of evolved hag, but she claims to be the Chrysalis and Bouchard. That can't be. I found Rain's body, or what was left of it, at the base of the tower. I'm not afraid to die now that I've infected the carriers. Soon all the Chimera across Europe will be dead. What makes the Chrysalis so pathetic is she's already dead too. She just doesn't know it yet. I'll try to hammer that point home.
I wonder...
So yeah, I'm so happy to report actual, genuine boss fight. No stupid shooting at lights, no tower zapping like with Daedalus. Honest to God, final boss fight.
Mono E!
Hey.
Tentacle.
Yes.
Keep trying until I
So yeah, it still has a bit of a gimmick. You have to go through some of these, stations in order to deplete the shield of the Chrysalis, and after that you can start shooting onto her. But again, it's a final boss with, different attacks in the gimmick too. It's not a reskin of an angel or anything. It's something.
God.
Like, holy
Weird how-
shit.
It's weird how in a much less powerful hardware, and yet it's in this one that manages to have the more impressive set pieces.
Again, it really feels to me like Bend Studios gave more of a shit. Okay, after the classic thing, also after you deal enough damage, the Chrysalis will actually retreat for a bit, and you have to defeat a bunch of minor enemies. Minor in a sense, or in a relative sense, because in this case there are also a bunch of drones, which are very, like you said, pests. So not exactly the best of times. Thankfully, again, the arena is coated with ammos and health packs, so you can literally just go and keep circling around and around
So
to
if I-
always, keep your supplies full. Go on, Jova.
So if I understand correctly, the Chrysalis is essentially the center of the virus, at least in Europe.
Well, no, technically for this female quote-unquote conversion center, the major tower that was in Paris. Again, Dr. Bouchard's theory was injecting this, which has now happened, with the carriers carrying this, means that the way of producing, new units for the Chimera in Europe will be completely stopped, and as a result, it will actually give an edge to the people in Europe to counter back. But first of all, we'll have to defeat the Chrysalis to see if that worked out.
Yeah, Grayson does point out, it doesn't make sense that Rain would be the Chrysalis since we supposedly saw her body back there, which
Well,
makes me
he's probably just a bit in denial more than anything. Also, watch out, because that zapping attack, that can potentially insta-kill you unless you have a shield on. So
I
keep
wonder.
moving as soon as you see it.
I do wonder if the twist is that maybe the Rain we knew was actually a clone created by the Chrysalis, initially meant to lead us to our doom, but resisted when she found out her true purpose and chose to
no,
die
Jova, the
instead.
game is almost over.
Headache?
Oh god, don't go there, lady.
Also, if there's one thing that looks a bit weird is the fact that the slime onto Grayson's.
When I had the chance.
Yeah, instead you had sex with her apparently. The slime onto Grayson's jacket and everything is basically just minor bits minor spots on the textures of his model.
It reminds me almost a bit of the Alone in the Dark remake video game.
Except that one was on Xbox 360 and PS3, so it kind of did not have the same excuse as this.
In fact, the patches were arguably worse there because they would actually flop about a bit. It was
because they were tied to the model of the jacket, which meant also they would flop with that. So yeah.
But yeah,
and I can tell you, Jova, I played the PS3 version, so that aspect is not improved. The PS3 version technically improves a lot of aspects of the 360 version, but not that one.
But yeah, not only is this a good final boss, this is a good final boss that we actually have a personal connection with too. I mean, the closest I'd say we got to it was Resistance 2, but even still, we just heard about what he was like as a human. We never got to actually know him as a human before.
I can tell you, Jova, even issue 0 of the comic doesn't really say much. It only showcases how he became dead, also, but we didn't know as much as you would probably want to know. Again, the ARG websites did told a bit more of information, but it's presented again in a sense of document about the research, which again it's cool on a presentation level, but a bit sterile in actually describing it.
Wow, I have to say, Grayson, I knew you were one that could be rough, but I never imagined a lover's quarrel getting this violent with you.
Sure.
I mean,
clearly we need Danny DeVito as a lawyer with us to settle this.
I mean, first sex and now this? What will the children think?
What children?
It's me, Rain. I am all you have left.
If Mallery was still alive, this would blow his mind.
Alright, almost done with these two. Here we go.
Ah, look, it's on fire. I've exploded.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
about a burnout.
So yeah, the best weapon that you can deal with the Chrysalis is possibly the rocket launcher. Maybe the Razor, the version 2, would be better, but not better, but still work as efficiently. But might as well just use the rocket launcher.
Honestly, it's kind of a shame knowing that this won't be what ends the Chimera, because I'll be honest, this feels like a much more climactic conclusion than whatever Capelli was doing in Resistance.
Alright, here we go.
Because fuck you, that's why.
And there's my platinum.
Retribution paid.
Alright, time for the ending.
Give me some answers.
I should have killed you when I had the chance.
How many times are you gonna repeat that?
You're wrong, Rain, or whatever the hell you are. The serum is working. Your father's virus is spreading. Soon, every carrier in the world will be dead.
James.
Oh?
We're not dead. The serum spread. Set off triggers. They're so advanced.
What do you say?
Carrier's gone. Just triggered new types. Spinners.
Oh, you gotta
it
be
won't-
kidding me.
It doesn't kill the Chimera, it makes them mutated. If you got the spinners were these small creatures that actually, were spearheading the American invasion. So yeah, it just basically changed the way the Chimeras convert humans.
So basically, that serum literally just mutated her. God.
And it serves to explain why in the Resistance 2 and 3 there are no conversion centers, and instead you have the
Cartwright's
Greens.
task force was successful.
But hold on.
Just as in London, when the Paris Tower fell, Chimera forces everywhere in Western Europe became disorganized, confused, and began to die. Grayson was also
Guess
successful.
they got lucky.
At least it seemed so at first.
Uh-oh.
Dr. Bouchard's serum worked as designed. Carriers spread the contaminated fluid from the mother chamber to facilities all over France and Germany. The new conversion process ground to a halt.
But
while Western Europe had earned a short reprieve, reports continued to come in from Russia, the Balkans, and Spain.
And technically Portugal,
Chimera
because of course.
forces were on the move. Vast fleets of Chimera dropships were being constructed.
Yeah, those
Their
were the ones that
targets and
actually will go to
destinations
America.
unknown. Grayson never talked about what happened inside the Chrysalis Lair to anyone, but it was obvious to everyone that Grayson was changed in ways we
probably
would
should have
never
mentioned the
understand.
whole the serum might just make the mutation
find
worse
any sign
thing,
of
dude.
Remember, this is from Parker's point of view. It seems that Grayson is not telling that much to them.
Why doesn't he though? This is integral for the human race's
I guess he
survival.
also doesn't understand what that means for the time being.
I don't know what happened in there, James, but don't let her death destroy you the way you let your brothers. It's time to bury our dead.
I don't need a lecture, Parker. I'll be fine.
Wait,
Will you?
I've
Will
got
you
something
really?
for you. British commanders cleared your record. We're offering you a field commission. How does Major Grayson
You
sound?
just got a
Sit
promotion!
my ass all day like Carver. Hey, speak of the devil.
Grayson, I've been looking for you. I think this is yours. Some of the boys found it during mop-up. I thought you'd want it.
It belongs here. As someone said, it's time to bury our dead.
So it's the
Keep it,
typical,
James.
I'll return to work, but
Your
not
brother
as a
wants
cushy
you to.
major in a seat. Put me on the
Wow, you
field.
changed your mind really quickly.
Goodbye, Colonel. Major.
Wow.
James.
Actual respect.
Hey, I hear the McKee have a replacement opening for a colonel. Maybe I'll apply.
He also thinks
The
about his
irony.
place.
James.
The absolute irony.
Shall we? There's still a war going on, last I checked.
So,
Right on, Cartwright.
so I'm a bit confused. Like, the
If you didn't notice the date, it was also September 9. So that was also
We never saw
executed.
Grayson again.
Epilogue.
He did join the Marquis, volunteering to
Holy
lead a
cow, he
dangerous
really
mission
did.
into the heart of Russia to find the source of the Chimera invasion. During the Battle of Warsaw, 12th of June 1953,
He still wore the jacket, I
Marquis
see.
listed Grayson as missing in action. But I had to wonder. Among the Russian refugees, there were rumors of a British soldier seen roaming the streets of Minsk, Kiev, and Moscow. A man they called the Cloven Killer.
So he went to
Perhaps Grayson did
Belarus,
die in Moscow.
Ukraine, and
But
Russia.
I like to
So
think
he
that
became
Basically,
a vigilante
James
again.
Grayson had
Eastern
found
Europe
another
and Central
cause worth
Asia.
living for.
I guess he'll be the superhero
And-
now.
Stay tuned because after the craze there's a small extra scene. But again, there's no time for the final thoughts yet. I can also fill in some gaps. So again, while this did not completely stop the invasion, it still was effective in the territories of Central Europe. But as mentioned, in Eastern Europe and Eastern and Western Europe, there was still, sacks of Chimera to exterminate with the respective towers. So that's where the fight took place. While the British moved to the western side, Grayson essentially moved on to Russia. His fate is ultimately left unknown. I will mention it technically more in a second, but the intel of Resistance 2 and 3 does mention about him as well, so don't worry about that. But otherwise, the franchise has never done anything. I do suspect that maybe a sequel was planned with him being in Russia, basically, because it did still leave it open, and there wasn't any supplementary materials that fill in the gaps on a complete level. So the the potential is still there. Who knows? But otherwise, yes, that's kind of how the European War almost concludes. After this, the Chimera, like I said, will mutate without having the need of carriers. Instead, we'll use the spinners, which are the variants of the Leapers that I told you, Jova, that start showing up in 2. So again, this game kind of bridges the gap between 1 and 2. And like I said, the whole distinction between male and female doesn't apply anymore, because when they go into America, Jova, the conversion process, starts, killing basically everyone indiscriminately to form the Grims.
And we did see that in... Oh, I see. Okay, I think I get it now. Since Grims only showed up in they only started showing
from 2
up
and
in
3,
Resistance
yes.
2.
It's their new form of convert. Again, the idea is that Dr. Bouchard's serum was effective, but to the point of mutating the Chimera to the sense of finding an alternative to bypass the blockade to the conversion process.
So basically, while it did wipe out a good deal of Chimera, it unfortunately gave the Chimera a new way to create their own. Instead of needing the whole process that we see in this game, now it was a lot more simple by just having the spinners essentially bite or
Exactly.
Yeah. So...
Which again also meant a big problem when it came, of course, to the American invasion, for having as many people to convert, and having them little prepared. Like I said, the supplement, the novels do mention why America was ineffective, but more to in a second, because there's also this.
What?
Yes, it seems that Grayson is still infecting some degree. And I can mention this now. This is where the intel from Resistance 2 come in, because it's mentioned specifically there that Grayson eventually, thanks to his actions, attracted the attention of Serpa, and as a result, it was given the same treatment of a Sentinel program. So essentially, while technically infected, is in that kind of superhuman state that Hale and the others were into.
Oh god, so I was right, he does become a superhero. But this makes me
Well, it
wonder.
doesn't seem that it's not even mentioned whether if it was that changed him to this state, or was he already infected from before. It's just left it there.
Well, it makes me wonder, did he get infected when he and Rain...
The sex, I wonder that too, Joe, but it's never explained.
The fact that is now a question I have to ask, because now that
like
that's
you said, Joe, like Chimeran's STDs.
Good lord.
But again, we do not know if he eventually did mutate or not, because like I said, his fate is left unknown. So who knows? But he still went on to kick ass in Russia. And again, it's a good incipient for another game, if you ask me, when it comes to spin-off. Anyway, the game is technically not over yet, because there's a couple of extra things that I want to show for another part. So see you for that, also for our final thoughts.
See you then.
Yeah.